There is something happening to you right now that you have never been able to name. You work hard. You are honest. When you make a decision, you explain it carefully. When someone pushes back, you respond with patience. You lay out your reasoning. You give people the full picture. And somehow, it is still not enough. Somehow, the people around you who do half the work and explain nothing still seem to move forward while you stay exactly where you are. You have told yourself it is politics. You have told yourself it is luck. You have told yourself that eventually the right people will see what you are doing and recognize it. But that day keeps not arriving. And somewhere underneath all of that patience, there is a frustration you have never fully admitted to yourself. Because admitting it feels like giving up on everything you were taught to believe. I am not going to ask you to give that up today. I am going to show you that what you were taught, the openness, the transparency, the careful explanation, those are not wrong in themselves. They are being used against you. And once you see how, you cannot unsee it. Let me take you back to when this started. You were young, a child, and the adults around you, your parents, your teachers, every authority figure in your life, gave you the same consistent message. Explain yourself. Show your reasoning. Be honest about your thinking. In school, you were rewarded for showing your work. At home, you were praised for being open. In every social environment you moved through, the message was the same. The person who communicates well, who is transparent, who makes themselves understood, that person gets ahead. And you believed it. Of course you believed it. Why would you not? It came from people who loved you. It came from teachers who wanted the best for you. It came from a system that presented itself as fair. But here is what that system never told you, what it could not tell you, because telling you would have undermined the entire arrangement. Openness is not a path to power. It is a path to manageability. A man who explains himself fully, who justifies his decisions to everyone who asks, who seeks understanding from the people around him, that man is easy to manage, easy to redirect, easy to control. Not because he is weak, because he has been trained to believe that his decisions require other people's approval to be valid. And the moment you need someone's approval, the moment your certainty depends on their agreement, you have handed them a lever. And they will pull it every single time. Think about the last important decision you made. Not a small one. A real one. A decision that cost you something. Time, money, courage, comfort. Now think about what you did immediately after you made it. Did you act on it quietly, or did you start explaining it? To your partner, to your boss, to your friends, to anyone who might have an opinion. And think about what happened when you explained it. Did the explanation make them more supportive? Or did it open a negotiation? Did it give them an opening to question you, reframe you, add conditions, suggest alternatives? Did your explanation, which you gave in good faith because you wanted them to understand, did it actually make your position stronger? Or did it make it something they felt entitled to weigh in on? Because that is the mechanism. That is the exact moment where the power transfer happens. Not in the decision itself, in the explanation that follows it. The decision before you explain it is a wall. It is solid. There is nothing to grip, nothing to argue against, nothing to push on. The moment you explain it, you have covered that wall in handholds. And everyone around you, even the people who love you, will instinctively reach for them, not because they are malicious, because you invited them to. Now let me introduce you to the man who understood this better than anyone who has ever lived. Machiavelli. Born in Florence in 1469. Not a villain, not a cynic, an observer. For 14 years he served the Florentine Republic as a senior diplomat, traveling to the courts of kings and popes and warlords, watching power operate from the inside. He saw what the powerful actually did, as opposed to what they claimed to do. He saw how they made decisions, how they communicated, how they managed their image, how they controlled information. He was one of the very few people in history who got that close to real power, and then wrote down honestly what he saw. When the Medici family returned to Florence in 1512, Machiavelli lost everything: his job, his freedom. He was arrested, tortured, and exiled to a small farm outside the city, stripped of everything he had built. And it was there, in that enforced silence, in that total loss, that he wrote The Prince. The book that got him banned. The book that powerful men across Europe called evil and dangerous, not because it was wrong, because it was accurate, because it named the machinery they were running and did not want named. Machiavelli wrote this, and this is the only direct quote you will hear in this video, so listen to it carefully. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. But above all, avoid being hated. Most people hear that and think it is about cruelty. It is not. It is about dependency. Love, in the social and political sense, requires continuous performance. To be loved, you must keep earning it. You must keep explaining yourself, keep demonstrating your worth, keep managing how people feel about you. It is exhausting. And it is a debt that never gets paid off. Because the moment you stop performing, the love recedes. Respect born from strength, from stillness, from the sense that this man knows something and does not need to share it with you, that requires nothing but your silence and your certainty. It is not taken from you when you stop performing. It deepens. The man who over-explains is chasing love. The man who says little and moves with conviction commands something more durable. And Machiavelli, who watched this play out in the most powerful courts in the world, knew the difference intimately. So let us get practical. Because everything I have said so far is useless to you unless it changes something you actually do starting today. The first thing to understand is this: your decision does not need a defense. When you make a choice, any choice that falls within your own domain, your own life, your own work, and someone asks you to justify it, you have two options. You can explain, or you can restate. Most men explain. The powerful restate. There is a profound difference between those two things. Explaining means going back behind the decision, opening up your reasoning, your doubt, your process, your alternatives considered. It says, I am not sure this decision can stand on its own, so let me build scaffolding around it for you. Restating means simply saying the decision again, perhaps differently, and then stopping. It says, the decision is the answer. There is no deeper room to enter. Try this in the next 48 hours. Make one decision, and when someone asks you why, say what you have decided, not how you decided it. Watch their face. Watch the slight recalibration that happens when they realize there is no opening. Most people will not push past it. And the ones who do push past it are showing you something important about themselves. The second thing, silence is not emptiness, it is information control. Every word you speak in a high-stakes situation is data. It tells the other person what you want, what you fear, how much you need this. what your deadline is, what your alternatives are. The person who speaks most in a negotiation, in a conflict, in a competition, reveals most. And the person who reveals most is the person who loses most. You have sat across from someone in a negotiation, for a raise, for a contract, for something that mattered to you, and you talked too much. You told them how much you wanted it. You explained your situation. You filled the silence with your own anxiety. And they used everything you gave them. They didn't need to be clever. You handed it to them. Before your next important conversation, ask yourself one question. What will I not say? Not as deception, as strategy. Decide in advance which parts of your position, your need, your process you will keep. Then speak in conclusions. Tell them what you have decided, not how you got there. The edit is where the power lives. The third thing, stop asking for permission with your language. There is a form of over-explanation, so subtle most men never notice it. It is not in the content of what you say. It is in the structure of how you say it. Listen to these phrases. You have used every single one of them. I was just thinking maybe. I wanted to run this by you. Would it be okay if... I hope this isn't a problem, but... These are not questions. They are permission requests. Every time you open a statement with one of these phrases, you have already placed yourself below the person you are speaking to before they have said a single word. You have told them, through your language alone, that your idea, your request, your position requires their approval to be legitimate. Replace "I was thinking" maybe with "I've decided." Replace "would it be okay if" with "I'm going to." Replace "I just wanted to run this by you" with the statement itself. You are not becoming aggressive. You are becoming someone who knows what he wants and does not need a softener before he says it. That shift alone, just in your language, will change how every person in your life responds to you within a week. The fourth thing, let them fill the silence. After you say something important, something that requires a response, stop talking. Completely. Do not add a qualifier. Do not ask if they understood. Do not soften the ending. Just stop and let the silence sit. Most men cannot do this. The silence feels dangerous. It feels like rejection building, like awkwardness hardening, like something going wrong. So they fill it. They add another sentence, then another, and in doing so they bury the most powerful moment of the conversation under a pile of nervous elaboration. Here is what actually happens when you hold silence after a strong statement. The other person experiences it as weight, as the gravity of someone who has said something real and is not afraid of how long it sits in the air. They are the ones who become uncomfortable. And uncomfortable people talk. They offer concessions, clarifications, agreements, simply to break the silence that you are completely at ease with. The man who is comfortable in silence controls the room, always. The fifth thing, your composure is your armor. Never let them take it. When someone provokes you, challenges you in front of others, dismisses your work, disrespects you in a meeting, takes credit for what you built, your emotional reaction is the only real win available to them. They cannot take your ability. They cannot undo your results. They cannot make your decisions wrong retroactively. The only thing they can steal from you is your composure. And they can only steal it if you hand it over. The moment you react with heat, with a raised voice, a flushed face, a defensive torrent of words, the conversation shifts. It is no longer about whether you are right or wrong on the matter. It is about whether you are stable. And an unstable man does not get what he came for, no matter how right he is. When you feel the provocation land, and you will feel it. It is physical. It rises in your chest. Take one breath before you speak. One full breath. In the space of that breath, you have already changed the dynamic. You have signaled, without a single word, that you are not going to be moved. And that signal, that visible decision not to react, is more powerful than anything you could say in that moment. The sixth thing, mystery is authority. The men who carry the most weight in any room are not always the most talkative. They are not always the most eloquent. They are the ones about whom others wonder. What does he really think? What is he planning? What does he actually want? That wondering is not idle curiosity. It is the experience of being near someone who cannot be fully read. And people cannot manage what they cannot fully read. When you explain everything, when you account for every decision, when you narrate your reasoning and your doubts and your process out loud, you become a map. And people do not wonder about maps. They do not think about them at night. They do not feel the pull of them in a room. They use them when convenient and put them away when not. Stop completing every thought out loud. Let some things remain implied. Let some statements hang in the air without a footnote. The implied is always more powerful than the stated, because the stated can be argued with and the implied can only be wondered about. The seventh thing, stop justifying your standards. You have high standards for your time, your work, your relationships. And somewhere along the way you began apologizing for them, explaining them, framing them in terms you hoped others would find reasonable, as if your standards were something you needed permission to hold. You do not. Your standards are the structure of who you are. You do not argue for them. You keep them. When someone pushes against one of your standards, when they ask why you won't do something, why you require something, why you operate a certain way, your answer is not an explanation. Your answer is a restatement. That is how I work. That is what I need. That is not something I do. Said without apology, without elaboration, without the softening that turns a boundary into an opening. Once. Then silence. Then let them decide what to do with it. This knowledge is for protection, not destruction. Nothing here is about becoming cold to the people who have earned your trust. The people who matter to you, your real allies, your true relationships, they still get all of you. What changes is the default. What strangers, competitors, and the uncommitted receive is your decisions, your conclusions, not your process. Now I need to say something directly to you. The old version of you, the one who pre-explained before anyone asked, the one who softened every statement into a question, the one who handed his process to anyone who demanded it, the one who stayed up at night rehearsing justifications for choices he had every right to make without justifying. That version of you has cost you more than you know. More time, more energy, more opportunity, more respect. The old you is dead. What you are stepping into is not hardness, it is precision. It is the understanding that you are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to build something, to move something, to become something. You are a weapon pointed at your own future, and weapons do not stop to explain their trajectory to the air they move through. The people who have been using your explanations as leverage will notice the change before you have fully made it. They will push harder at first because the old lever is no longer working. They will ask more questions. They will seem confused, maybe irritated. That irritation is not a sign that something is wrong. That irritation is the exact proof that something has gone right. You belong to no one. Your time belongs to no one. Your plans belong to no one. Not as isolation, as sovereignty. A sovereign man A man who moves from his own center rather than from the need for approval is the rarest thing in any room. And he is always the one that everyone else unconsciously watches. 500 years ago, Machiavelli sat in a small farmhouse, having lost everything: his career, his freedom, his city, and he wrote down the truest things he had ever seen. He was not teaching cruelty. He was handing you armor. He saw the game. He named the rules. And now you have them. Not for power over others, for freedom from the exhausting labor of managing their opinion of you. That freedom is not a small thing. Compounded over months and years, that reclaimed energy is the difference between the man you are and the man you have been trying to become. Every man who ever impressed you, who ever seemed to move through this world with a quality you could not quite name, this is what he knew. Not that he was smarter, not that he was born luckier. He had simply stopped spending on what you are now about to stop spending on. If this video has done what it was built to do, something has already shifted. Not a small shift, the kind that makes you sit differently, the kind that makes you look back over the last year and see the exact moments where you handed power away, and understand, for the first time, precisely how and why it happened. There is more. This channel exists for the man who is ready to go deeper, to study power, psychology, and the architecture of how the world actually works, not how it claims to work. If that is you, you already know what to do. The subscribe button is there, not because I am asking, because you are deciding. And before you go, one question. Sit with this one. Think about the most important decision you made in the last year, the one that required something real from you. And ask yourself honestly, how much energy did you spend explaining that decision to other people, and how much of that explanation actually changed anything? Drop your answer in the comments, because that number, that honest answer, is the exact measurement of how much of your life you have been living for yourself and how much you have been living for their approval.